Have you ever received a truly brilliant, just totally mind-reading response from an AI tool, only for the very next response to be an absolute unusable disaster?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're sitting there staring at the screen, and the cognitive whiplash is just intense. You wonder who just took over the keyboard or if the whole system was suddenly swapped out from under you.
Right. It is an incredibly jarring transition. I mean, one minute you feel like you're collaborating with a genius, someone who completely anticipates the nuances of your project.
Yeah.
And then the very next minute, you are trying to reason with a brick wall that can only speak in corporate buzzwords.
Exactly. It's maddening. So today's deep dive is about decoding that specific whiplash. We are looking at a really fascinating piece by tech writer and software engineer Aaron Rose. It's titled The Secret Life of AI, The Rage Quit, and it's published on tech-reader.blog. And what makes this source so compelling is that Rose, well, he completely avoids the standard dry list of prompt engineering tips.
Which is so refreshing, honestly.
Right. Instead, he uses this really creative narrative. He sets a scene in a grand Victorian library in London.
Very atmospheric.
Yeah, and it centers on a conversation between two characters. There's Margaret, who's this seasoned senior software engineer, and Timothy, her junior colleague.
Okay.
And through their dynamic, their story, our mission today is to extract the psychology and the actual underlying technical mechanics of exactly why we get so angry at these tools and, how to actually fix it.
I love this approach. By grounding the technical reality in a narrative, Rose captures something that most manuals just completely miss.
Which is what?
The emotional reality of working with large language models. I mean, interacting with AI is not a purely analytical process.
Yeah, not at all.
It involves expectation, it involves trust, and inevitably deep, deep frustration.
Definitely. So to understand why we get so frustrated, we first really need to look at the exact sequence of events that triggers what Rose calls a rage quit.
Right, the anatomy of the meltdown.
Exactly. So in the story, Timothy sits down with Margaret on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And this is important because it breaks their usual Thursday rhythm.
Ah, so he's actively seeking her out. Something's wrong.
Yeah, he's stressed. He unwinds his scarf aggressively, refuses to make eye contact, and just confesses that he slammed his laptop shut 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And he hasn't touched the AI work since.
Wow. 3 days. And Margaret, being the senior engineer, she just waits.
Yeah, she just lets him vent.
Because she recognizes the physical symptoms of a developer who has completely hit a wall.
Totally. So Timothy explains that he was tasked with writing a technical summary about a complex infrastructure decision.
Oh, man. Anyone working in tech knows the mental load of that specific tasks.
It's brutal.
It is. You are balancing so many competing considerations. You've got latency trade-offs, server costs, future scalability, legacy system constraints, and you're holding all of that in your head simultaneously.
It's high-stakes mental juggling. And Timothy, to his credit, he does everything right. He takes all of that dense, difficult context, and he feeds it into the AI.
Okay, so he gives it a good prompt.
A great prompt. And the result he gets back is just genuinely impressive. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
He admits the AI found a structural framing he hadn't even considered.
Wow.
The language was precise. It wasn't cold or robotic. It was just an absolute home run.
Which, ironically, is the trap.
A trap.
Yeah, the trap is that early success. Because think about what Timothy does next. He moves to the next logical step.
Right.
He asks the AI for the second section of the document, and he does it working within that exact same conversation thread.
Makes sense.
Right, and he brings the same level of care to his follow-up prompt. But the output he gets back this time, it is complete garbage.
It's totally unusable.
Totally. He describes it as vague, circular, and just full of meaningless transition phrases.
And naturally, he tries to course correct. Right. He asks again.
Yeah.
The AI gets more generic. He tries being more specific. Maybe he adds a constraint.
And it probably hallucinates or loops back to the beginning.
Exactly. And finally, he just slams the laptop shut.
Wow.
He rage quits. And I want the listener to think about their own workflow for a second, because we have all been in that loop.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like having a coworker who delivers a Pulitzer-worthy presentation at 9:00 a.m., but by 9:45 a.m., they've completely forgotten how to open a door.
That is the perfect analogy.
Right. But my question for you is, why is it that predictable mediocrity is actually easier for us to handle than a mix of brilliance and failure? Like, why does this specific failure hurt so much?
Well, Margaret actually offers a really profound psychological diagnosis for Timothy here. She tells him that his rage quit was not a failure of patience.
Oh, really? Because I always feel like I just gave up too easily.
Right, we constantly blame ourselves. We think we lack the stamina to wrangle the prompt. But Margaret argues that a rage quit is a very specific data point.
A data point.
Yeah, it is a signal that the gap between your baseline expectation and the reality of what the tool is giving you has become mathematically unmanageable.
Oh, I appreciate that framing so much. It removes the guilt.
It does.
It frames the frustration as a natural consequence of a shifting baseline, not just, a character flaw on our part.
Exactly. And Margaret points out that the crucial mistake Timothy made wasn't closing the laptop.
What was it?
The mistake was concluding that the tool itself was inherently broken. She introduces this concept of moving the goalposts.
Okay, unpack that for me.
So that brilliant first section, it set Timothy's expectations astronomically high. So when the second section came back, it might not have actually been pure garbage in a vacuum.
Oh, interesting.
Right, it might have been perfectly adequate for a first draft. But compared to the sudden, totally unearned brilliance of that first output adequate, felt like a catastrophe.
So he stopped evaluating the second output on its own terms.
Exactly.
He was grading it against a moving target that the AI itself had accidentally set.
Yes. And that brilliant then terrible sequence is uniquely destabilizing because it essentially removes the floor.
The floor, right.
Because consistent mediocrity, it allows you to plan. If a spell checker only catches 80% of errors, you adjust your workflow to double-check the rest yourself.
Right, the boundaries of the tool.
Exactly. But sudden brilliance followed by catastrophic failure, that means you're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And navigating that uncertainty is just exhausting.
In the story, Timothy actually admits the experience felt almost like a betrayal.
A betrayal, wow.
Yeah, and we use that word for human relationships, not software. But Margaret validates it. She notes that feeling betrayed proves the tool had earned a degree of trust from him that he wasn't even consciously aware he had given.
That's a really sharp insight.
It is. But I do want to pause here and push back a little bit on Timothy's behalf.
Okay, go for it.
Because isn't it completely rational for Timothy to expect consistency from a computer? I mean, if a calculator gives me the number 4 on the first try, it doesn't give me the word banana on the second try.
Right.
So is it really a psychological failing on our part to expect a computer to just act like a computer?
That is the perfect question, and that assumption is the exact root of all this friction. Margaret addresses this head-on in the library.
What does she say?
She reminds Timothy that AI models are fundamentally not consistent in the way a calculator is. Here's the structural reality behind the madness. A calculator is deterministic.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning you input the same sequence, you traverse the exact same logic gates, and you get the exact same output every single time.
2 + 2 is always 4.
Always. But AI models, specifically neural networks, are probabilistic. They do not calculate answers.
So what are they doing?
They are predicting the next most likely token, basically the next word based on a massive web of statistical weights.
Oh, okay, so they aren't pulling from a database of fixed facts. They're just generating text on the fly based on the mathematical probability of words appearing near each other.
Correct. And those probabilities shift wildly based on invisible factors.
Like what?
Like the complexity of the specific task, the exact phrasing you use, and most importantly, the specificity of the context you provide.
Okay, so going back to Timothy. His first prompt worked beautifully because the context of an infrastructure decision is naturally dense and precise.
Exactly. He handed the model a tremendous amount of rich, highly specific signal. He constrained the probability space, which essentially forced the model into a highly accurate output.
But then what happened on the second prompt? Because he was still in the same chat.
Right, but when he asked for the second section, he likely provided a narrower context. He gave it less signal, assuming the AI would just remember the nuance from earlier.
Oh, I see.
Which brings us to the big reveal on AI memory, what Rose calls context dilution.
Context dilution. Let's dig into that mechanics.
So as a conversation grows longer, the model has to juggle an ever-increasing load. It has to hold the original context, every single subsequent exchange, every revision, all of it.
So it's like handing an eager assistant an ever-growing stack of grocery bags.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, first they're fine, but eventually they're so overwhelmed by the sheer volume of bags that they just drop the eggs you gave them at the very beginning.
That is exactly what happens mathematically. Because of this massive load, The early valuable signal, your eggs, gradually loses its weight against everything that follows.
Wow.
Every time you say, no, fix this, or the AI generates structural fluff, that gets added to the bags. Long, complex sessions inevitably produce diminishing return.
So if the context gets diluted the longer we chat, does that mean starting completely fresh is the secret weapon?
It really is. Margaret shares her golden rule. Starting fresh with a clean, precise prompt often works much better.
Really? Just opening a blank chat?
Yes, because every task is its own distinct negotiation. You drop the heavy bags and start over.
Okay, so knowing why the AI fails is only half the battle. The other half is what you should actually do after you've dropped the bags and slammed the laptop shut.
Right, the human behavior side of it.
Exactly. Because Timothy spent 3 whole days away. Day 1, he was angry. Day 2, he was doubting if the first output was even good. And day 3, he's seeking out Margaret.
And Margaret tells him something fascinating here. She says the duration of the break doesn't actually matter.
It doesn't.
No, 3 days, 3 hours, 10 minutes, it's irrelevant. What matters is what you bring back with you when you reopen the laptop.
Okay, I'm guilty of this. What do most people bring back?
They re-enter carrying a grievance.
Oh, yeah. Totally guilty.
Right. Most people return defensive. They expect disappointment. And because they are waiting for the tool to fail, they interpret even slightly ambiguous outputs as total disasters.
And they probably give up much sooner, too.
Exactly. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So what is the correct state for re-entry?
Curiosity, not anger. You have to be open to the idea that the failure was circumstantial, a mechanical issue of context dilution, not that the tool is fundamentally broken.
That makes a lot of sense. But it's hard to do in practice.
It is, and Margaret admits the thing nobody really admits. Even she still rage quits occasionally.
As a senior engineer.
Yes. The brilliant then terrible sequence gets everyone eventually, but she has learned to recognize the early signs.
The moving goalposts.
Exactly, the creeping frustration. Her goal isn't to reach some Zen state where she never feels it. Her goal is to perform what she calls the quiet close.
The quiet close. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, you step away before you slam the door, you close the laptop quietly, and you only return when you can be useful to the process again.
So bringing it back to the story, when Timothy finally opens his phone to look at that terrible second output, now that his emotional temperature is way down, what does he actually discover?
Here's the punchline. Timothy realizes the output wasn't actually as bad as he remembered.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't garbage. It likely just needed one more round of specific feedback that he was simply too angry to give in the moment.
Oh, wow. That is incredibly humbling.
It is. His anger completely distorted his evaluation of the tool.
So, to synthesize this deep dive for you listening, we've decoded the brilliant then terrible sequence. We explored the exhaustion of shifting expectations, right?
Right, moving the goalposts.
Yeah. And we unpacked the mechanics of context dilution, where long chats are like carrying too many grocery bags and you ruin those early signals.
The eggs.
Yes, you drop the eggs. And finally, we learned the power of the quiet close, stepping away so you can re-enter with curiosity instead of grievance.
It's a total mindset shift.
It really is. And I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought. At the very end of the piece, Aaron Rose teases his next episode.
Oh, what's it about?
It's going to be about memory and context. Specifically, he highlights the fact that AI doesn't remember you.
Yes.
Every session is a complete clean slate.
It holds absolutely no grudges.
Exactly. It has no memory of your past frustrations, your rage quits, or your anger. So if the AI approaches every single new session with a completely clean slate, maybe the most advanced AI skill you can develop isn't prompt engineering at all.
What is it then?
Maybe the true mastery is your own human ability to grant that exact same clean slate to the machine every time you open the laptop.